Hello everyone, and welcome to another beer review. Now, today we're back on the Scotchy series. Hopefully we're coming close to the end of it. I think there's about 3 or 4 beers left, and I will hope to God there's only 3 or 4 beers left, because it just seems to be dragging on. But today we're not on Tennent's, and we're not on Belhaven. We're actually on a brewery that it was fairly close to where I grew up. I grew up in the west coast of Scotland on the mainland, and this brewery is based on an island just off that coast, and I've visited it many times for work and things like that. And the brewery is the Arran Brewery from the Isle of Arran, which is just off the Ayrshire coast and the west coast of Scotland, and it's a blonde ale apparently. So it's a blonde premium beer. It's 5%, it's 500ml bottle, and it's under £2. Now, is there any spill in the back? I don't think there is actually. So it's brewed in the Isle of Arran, it says, and Isle of Arran Brewery, which is in Brodick, Isle of Arran, Scotland, and that's really it. And it just says contains malted barley and malted wheat, and that's it, nothing else. So no spill, no nothing. I will put some details of the brewery in, because I'll put some beer facts below, so I will, and I'll give some details about the brewery and maybe a little bit of history and things like that. But hopefully this will be quite nice. Can't be any worse than some of the other stuff we've tried, as you know. It's been quite a grave disappointment, I'll be totally honest. I actually wish I never started this bloody series, because I thought it was a good way of me basically catching up on what's happening in the brewing world in Scotland since me being away, and it's a way of kind of showcasing Scotland and some of its beers as well. And it's went the exact opposite. All it's done is frustrated me, disappointed me, and highlighted that there's just as much problems with the brewing industry in Scotland as there is anywhere else in the UK or anywhere else in the world right now. It seems to be all going through a transition of mediocrity and cutting corners and sensationalism and everything else. It's just the beers are more about hype than substance and flavour, unfortunately. So hopefully, because this is a smaller brewery, it might be better. It might be a nicer beer. Why is it every time I start a video some arsehole says to come and start fanning about with a fucking car? It's unbelievable, seriously. As if like, oh, he's in there making a video. Like, come on, let's get to the car and get it started and get revving it like fuck. You know, seriously. It's unbelievable. So it's a bunch of shits. Right, let's crack this open before basically somebody else has the idea of, oh, I could go rev my car and he's doing a video, that would be funny. Get in, Brett. So hopefully. I'm quite buoyant about this. I'm quite kind of up for it, because I'm trying to remember. I think I had a heather ale from the Isle of Arran Brewery, and if I remember right, it was really quite nice, but that was absolutely years ago. So it was. But anyway, let's see what this was like. Let's pour it out. And there we go. It's a good pour. Good pour. Oh, a bit of effervescence there, so there is. Oh my god. It's lively and sprightly. Also, it's a strange one, because I watch quite a lot of yours and I'll say, good carbonation. How do you know it's good carbonation until you get the mouthfeel? I've always wondered that. You can say, oh yeah, there's carbonation, or yeah, it looks quite lively or something like that. But you don't really know if it's good or bad carbonation until you get your gums around it. And if it starts basically nipping them, and then you're thinking, oh, maybe it's not so good, you know. But I always find that strange with it. Oh yeah, it's good carbonation. I can always say, well, it looks quite well carbonated and potentially it might be overly carbonated, things like that. But again, I will never really make a final decision or make any kind of judgment until I've actually tasted it and had a feel of the beer around my mouth. So I always find that strange when people say that. Maybe I'm missing something. But anyway, so for people on the podcast, it's supposed to be a blonde ale, but it's probably closer to a golden colour. You know, that kind of light golden colour. I wouldn't say it's blonde. Blonde, I would expect it to be a bit lighter. I would say this is more closer to a kind of golden ale kind of colour, or a kind of a slightly darker lager from that kind of view. And it was roughly about 1 finger head. It's kind of dissipating a bit. It's probably down to half finger head now. So let's have a smell. Well, I'm getting hops, which is good because let's be totally honest, it's not something you usually get much of when you, unless it's pretty dog shit. But if you're basically smelling Scottish beers, the majority of them you won't really get a hop aroma. You may get some hop tones in the flavour, but not very often you'll actually get the smell of hops. I'm getting some light floral smell, but I'm also getting malt as well. Quite a kind of sticky, kind of caramel, kind of malty, kind of, you know, the kind of caramel kind of sweetness, a kind of snickiness kind of smell. So you're getting malty, you're getting slightly kind of caramel stickiness kind of smell, and some light florals. So let's see what it tastes like. That's actually quite nice. Fair play to them. First impressions is that there's some flavours there that once my mouth gets acclimatised we can kind of investigate and expand on, but first impressions is that there's some nice flavours there. The mouthfeel is quite nice. And overall, the flavours that I'm initially getting are quite nice. There's a nice kind of balance to it. I mean, what I would say, it's not, if you mentioned like a Scottish ale to most people, they would think of a more darker ale with a lot more malt forward. Forget all this brewdog bullshit and all that kind of nonsense. We're talking about more kind of traditional Scottish ales. If you'd mention a Scottish ale to a Scotsman or an Englishman or a Welshman or an Irishman, whatever, but if you turned around and mentioned that to them, they would think of a kind of darker beer, a kind of a darker brown ale, whether it's a heavy or a wee heavy, and it would be malt forward, very little hops, and that would be kind of the main kind of initial impressions people would say. This doesn't give us any of that, as you can see. Obviously, it's not a dark ale, but what it does give to me is, how would you say? It does strike me more as being kind of more of an English style ale than a Scottish style ale, which I don't see that as a bad thing. I don't see that as a bad thing. I think obviously Scotland has to try different ales and things like that, and there's nothing wrong in Scotland doing lighter beers and things like that, and obviously working with hops. And yeah, of course, obviously, if you're going to basically brew a type of ale like this, there's a good chance there's going to be slight kind of accents and elements from the kind of English style, especially if you're using similar type of hops and obviously a kind of similar type of brewing process. But yeah, it's not the first thing you would think of, but from that type of situation is it's nice because again, this potential is an option for beer drinkers that maybe want something a bit lighter but don't want to go to a lager. They want something a bit more interesting than a lager. And like for somebody like me, this would be a godsend compared to like sort of Tennent's lager and all this other kind of guff that you're getting. So yeah, it is very drinkable. There's some, yeah, some really nice little tones. There's a nice little kind of hoppy finish with a little bit of bitterness, and it just is quite light and really quite nice. Fair play to them. I'm actually quite happy. Well done, Arran Brewery, for Christ's sake. It's been long enough waiting. But yeah, I really am quite chuffed with that. Just shows you how much I was disappointed in the past. Seriously, I was dreading every time, and I just like to be secret. While I'm doing this, I thought I'll do another one. Right. So the one I'm doing after this, it's a fucking Belhaven. Oh God, and it's an IPA. So my happiness may be short-lived, but yes, there's a Belhaven coming up next that I'll be doing. Oh, Christ, and I'm not looking forward to it. And I'm looking forward to even less after tasting this, thinking, oh, Jesus. I'm basically going through yin and yang, and I think this is the yang, and I can assure you Belhaven's going to be the yang. God, no. Please be a good one. Please be a good one. But anyway, let's enjoy what we have in front of us. You know, be thankful for small mercies. But yeah, so let's try and break down the flavours. Okay, so you get a little bit of malt, and you get a nice kind of underlying sweetness that's going from front to back, dissipates down from the front of the mouth to the mid-tongue. And you get a little bit of caramel there as well. So the caramel's linking the kind of sweetness to the malty flavours. But what you're also getting is just little hoppy flavours, just little floral hoppy flavours that you're just starting to kind of, little accents that just start to develop at the front of the mouth. Move on to the mid-tongue, and these floral flavours just kind of slightly ramp up a bit. The sweetness just slightly dissipates a little bit, just drops down, and the maltiness just slightly drops down. But as the maltiness drops down, you just get a little hint of grain as well in the mid-tongue. So you're getting a nice kind of array of flavours there. So you've got that nice little bit of sweetness, a little hint of caramel, a little hint of malt. And you're getting the hoppiness, the little floralness of that. And you're just getting that little bit of grain just kind of bursting through in between. And it is just quite nice. The levels aren't too much. They're just a nice level. Whereas I'm not saying it's completely clean, but it's clean enough that it's quite easy to identify the flavours, and they're not overpowering, and they're not trying to fight each other. They're just nice. And overall, you've just got that nice kind of mouthfeel. So that carbonation levels, even though it looks quite kind of busy in the glass, it's just nice as a mouthfeel. I mean, you could sink it. Let's be totally honest. I could sink this, and yeah, I'd have maybe a couple of burps at the end of it, but it'd be really easy. So it's not like a can of Sprite. Thank God. And then what it does is, as it gets to the end of the mid-tongue, you just start getting a little bits of bitterness, just kind of little accents just coming through, and then it moves on to the aftertaste. And on the aftertaste, the sweetness starts to kind of dissipate a bit, but the malt and the grain kind of dissipates quite quickly. But that just leaves you with a little bit of floralness of the hops, but you're also getting a little bit more bitterness there as well. Not a strong bitterness, but just a very kind of light bitterness, which just makes the finish a bit more interesting. And again, as the sweetness dissipates, the last thing it kind of dissipates is the floralness and a little bit of kind of hoppy bitterness. And it just makes it just a nice, easy finish. So it's not too hoppy, it's not lingering in the back of the throat or any way, shape or form. The bitterness is quite gentle, but it's there enough just to make it interesting. And it just gives it a nice kind of easy finish, but an interesting finish. And overall, from front to back, there's a nice balance to the beer. The flavours are working together. They're kind of supporting each other. None of them are clashing. Maybe could be a little bit cleaner, but again, I'm probably being a wee bit too picky to a degree. And overall, for a blonde ale, it's actually quite nice. And like I said, for me, it's something more interesting than, say, a lager. And if I wanted something lighter, living in Scotland, then yeah, I would definitely put this on my shopping list. So there you go. I'm usually quite hard on beers, let's be totally honest. I'm not very nice quite a lot of times, but I'm not trying to be nasty. I want beers to be good. But I think one of the biggest problems is that you read all this gump on the back label, and then you go in with certain kind of expectations because you've bought the beer based on that. That's your really only kind of, unless you like the label or you know the brewery and you think, well, I've had other ones from that brewery, I'll maybe go and try it and see what it's like. Or if you've never tried it, and you don't know anything about it, and you read the spiel in the back, you think, oh, that sounds quite nice, and you get it, and it's a complete disappointment, and you feel like you've been kind of conned and ripped off. Thinking, you're lying buggers. Whereas this, I don't really know anything about it. I'm doing a Scottish series. It ticks the boxes in the Scottish series because it's brewed in Scotland, and it's an ale, and it's a lighter ale, and no spiel in the back. Fair play to it. Like I always say, if you can't be honest or have something really kind of worthwhile to say in the label, then just don't say anything at all. And there's no pairing notes, no bullshit, no crap. Just there you go. This is where it's brewed. This is what it contains. And there you go. Thank you very much. And yeah, I applaud them for that because it's about the beer. It's not about any hype or bullshit. And that's got to be a good thing because this industry right now is absolute wall-to-wall bullshit right now. It really is. It's unbelievable. You get bullshit coming out of all crevices and every orifice. And it's just nice to get a brewery that's like, well, there's the beer. It's a blonde. It's 5%. It's a 500ml bottle. Brewed by us. Give it a go. I'm not telling you what it should be, what we want it to be, or what you should be getting. It's a case of go and enjoy it. And hopefully you do. It's like that kind of scenario, and I like that. It's refreshing compared to all the kind of other crap, and you know what I'm like. You've seen me with all the hype and the piss and everything else, and the labels, and even on the glasses as well. And you know how much it annoys me and gets me ranting. So I've got to turn around and applaud a brewery that just, will give you the facts and that's it. Nothing else. So yeah, fair play to the Arran Brewery for that, and fair play to them for this. So what would I give this out of 10? God, that is actually easy to drink. Too easy to drink. It's really actually quite nice. Well, I could be a bit pernickety, but I think, first of all, the flavour profiles are a bit kind of unusual. A kind of a step away from the tradition than what you would expect from a Scottish kind of beer, especially, if you say an ale. The minute you say a Scottish ale, people think dark, they don't think light. Different if you're talking about lagers or something like that, but it's nice that that somebody is doing a lighter ale when it's done well. And it's brewed well, nice balance and everything else. And if I basically put it up against a lot of the other beers that I've tried in this Scottish series, which, let's be totally honest, a hell of a lot of them have been a disappointment. This is a bit of a revelation, to be totally honest. And it's good. It's just a shame that I've waited till this time to actually review it. I wish I'd actually done it ages ago. But I suppose it's a good thing because we're getting near the end of the last couple of bottles, last 3 or 4 bottles, hopefully. Then it's nice that one of them's a nice one like this. So out of 10, yeah, it's really actually quite nice. Yeah, nice little balance and everything else. It's just unusual. Yeah, I wouldn't have expected because it is kind of slightly more English kind of style, and got a lot of kind of more traditional English flavours. But I don't see there's anything wrong with that. And it's nice that they understand that, well, there's a lot of good breweries in England making a lot of good ales, And it's a good place to start if you're wanting to start kind of doing ales in Scotland. Just have a look at what some of the English ones are being produced and kind of learn from them. I don't see that as an issue or a problem in any way, shape, or form. So I'm going to give this now. I'm kind of toying between 7 and 7.5. So it's an easy 7. It really is. It's quite an easy 7 compared to what I've tried below. And I'm looking at the point of view as a Scottish series, but also as an ale in its own right. I mean, it could stand up to quite a lot of easy, kind of more golden style ales coming from England. Not a problem. So yeah, go for it. I'm going to give it a 7.5. And I would say if you can get it, try it. I think you would enjoy it. And if you are kicking about Scotland, especially on the west coast, kind of the Ayrshire area, whether it's South Ayrshire, North Ayrshire, East Ayrshire, all these type of things. I always wondered why we never got a West Ayrshire. Then I realised, well, apart from the island, you'd be in the fucking water. You'd be in the sea. So yeah, it's better just to stick with the south, north and east. But yeah, if you're around about the kind of Ayrshire coast and probably into the kind of Clyde estuary, that kind of area, maybe around about Glasgow or something like that, and maybe down the Solway coast, I would probably think these beers will be sold around about these areas. And if you're in that kind of area and you see it, whether in a pub or in the supermarket, then yeah, I would recommend give it a go. I think you would like it because I do, and I'm glad I actually reviewed it. It's kind of pepped me up a bit, which is just as well because we've got a Belhaven coming up next, which that might surprise me, hopefully. Go and fucking see no number. Anyway, so yes, it's a 7.5 out of 10. It's 5%. It's a blonde ale. It's 500ml. It's just under £2 a bottle. Thanks for watching. Cheers. Bye for now.